little garlic crusher here. So you just want to get your onions well underway before you put the garlic in, because burnt garlic is not a nice flavour. I'll just take this over to the pan. Bob it on top of the onions. You could use a red onion if you wanted. You could, that wouldn't be a problem. You could use shallot. So let's just finish crushing these. Okay. I'll just put these over here so that when I can bring the pan back over so you can see the state.
Sandy, you're accidentally muted. Can you have a go and unmute yourself?
There we go.
Better. Thank you.
All right, okay. Thank you. Okay, so while that's sweating, what I've also got, now this is optional, is I've got some little pieces of pancetta. This isn't on the recipe because I just had a look and I had this box of pancetta in the freezer, or diced smoked bacon, or not at all. You can leave it out if you want, but if you're vegetarian, leave it out. It's perfectly nice without, but this just adds another layer.
Sandy,
sorry,
Sandy, just to let you know that Amelia is cooking along with you.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
So we're hoping we can see what Amelia's managed to come up with at the end of the show. She's waiting to see.
That'd be lovely to see. That'd be lovely to see that.
Yeah, she's waiting to see how it looks.
Okay. So I can say without sounding too chefy or anything, you know, you want to be able to create layers in your food. You know, tomato sauce is lovely and very versatile and very useful. However, it can have a flat flavour if you're not careful. You don't get some layers in. This is why we're using the garlic, the smoked bacon, the chilli, you know, all the herbs. You need to just create some tension and some alternatives. So, as you can you see there, we've got our sweating bacon and onions there, just nicely starting to colour. Now, what I'll do here now is to keep this going. In that heat, I'm going to add some red wine, and of course this is beautiful Fairtrade red wine. And as you will see, I'm a massive advocate in you should never cook with what you're not prepared to drink. There's no such thing as cooking wine. Okay, so we'll pour some in. I mean, why I measured it, I don't know, because I don't measure. Now that's oh my goodness, that's gorgeous, Malbec. Now I'm going to pop this back on the stove to just boil up a little bit, and that will just burn off some of the alcohol. When that burns off, the red wine will burn off some of the alcohol while we get our other ingredients ready. So here I've got 2 tins of chopped tomatoes and also about 2 tablespoons of puree. However, given the fabulous people from Fairtrade have sent I've sent this. Is it Maru herbs? Is it Bernard?
Never sure how to pronounce it. It's Maru, I think, isn't it?
MERU.
ERU.
ERU.
Can I just comment?
Yes.
It's from Meru herbs, from the Meru region of Kenya.
Right. Thank you. That's lovely. Kenyan. Yes, it says here. So you could use these sauces if you wanted. We're going to put one in. We're going to put the tomato and basil, but there is another one, tomato and chili. And because we're going to make these a little bit on the chili side, just a touch, just a little bit. I'm going to use the tomato and chili one for today's ingredients. So we'll see how they go. So I'll still use the tomato because I want a good lot of sauce. Because when you're using it in the pasta, or if you want to split it and keep 2 batches, so we need some sauce. So now the wine is boiling away with the onions, and I'm going to go in there and tip in the tin tomatoes now. Give that a stir in. And we'll also use our jar, the whole jar. Fabulous. Okay. And we'll just let that stir in and simmer along with tomato puree. Tomato puree does 2 things. It makes the sauce slightly thicker, as well as put some, as I say, some depth into the sauce. So we'll mix that, slowly mix that in. Turn the gas down a little bit. Get that nicely mixed in. Okay. Now, what I would advocate here is to put in a little bit of salt, but your puree usually has some salt, but we will add some. And somebody else might be able to help me with the name of these fabulous herbs. Kuva, Bernard, help me out.
No, I couldn't pronounce that correctly. I'm sure somebody else can.
I can.
Honestly,
A kuva.
A kuva, fabulous. So
Thank you,
we've got
Percy.
Welcome.
the fact that they've got a built-in grinder, which I've been using them, and it's a very strong little grinder. So we've got Cape Garden herbs, rainbow pepper, and we've got some seaweed salt. And actually, they're really lovely because they've got like a decoration on as well. And I would actually give these as a gift because I think people that cook like things like this as a gift. So we're going to give a good twist of black pepper. A really good twist of black pepper. And get some herbs in. Like I say, nothing is wrong when you're cooking. A twist of those. Give that a stir. We can go, let's get some salt in.
Okay, Sandy?
Yeah.
Sandy? Yeah, we're
Yeah.
about to show a video because I believe those herbs came from JTS, and we have a little video we're going to see now.
Okay, lovely. Perfect opportunity.
At the heart of Tharaka Nithi County in Kenya lies a company that is greatly invested in transforming the lives of local farmers. Since its establishment, Meru Hubs has been keen on alleviating the challenges faced by small-scale farmers in Kenya, such as climate change, poor pest and disease control, and over-reliance on outdated technology. By providing training on best farming practices, Kenyan farmers are now being equipped with the necessary skills they need to flourish in agribusiness. Through partnerships with organizations like JTS, Meru Hubs has also successfully connected local farmers to the global market, facilitating the exportation of a vast array of products such as jams and sauces. This has empowered farmers, uplifted communities, and grown the economy, changing the lives of hundreds of farmers and their families. And that's the story of Meru Hubs.
Okay.
And we're back. We're going to have a spot prize now. A little competition with prize of 3 of Sean Hawkey's books, and I think we'll use the chat now. So if you're ready, the first 3 people who can type it into the chat box, the answers to the question: from what country do Meru herbs come? Where do Meru herbs come from? Marco, right there, Julie and Donna, and they all correctly identified. Everybody knows Kenya, but those 3 were first. So Marco, Julia, and Donna, well done. You were the first 3. Meru herbs are from Kenya. But we'll sort out a prize for you 3. That'll be Joanna's department. But those are the 3 winners. So back to chef, please.
Back to, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me.
That's you.
Right. So, while you've been gone, I've just had a taste of this sauce. And the chili, it's perfect. The amount of chili needed for this recipe, it's probably not hot enough for chili con carne. You probably add a little bit more. However, to just add that piquancy to the sauce, it's just perfect. It really is. And then little strange tip here. In the jar, to just swill out the jar, as we do in Yorkshire, up here in Yorkshire, not a drop is wasted anywhere on anything. So in the jar, I've added a drop of milk. Now, why have I added milk? Well, sometimes tomatoes and tin tomatoes, they can be a little bit acidic. And you can add a touch of sugar, which just cuts that acidity a little bit, but also a little bit of milk just adds another little creaminess and once again cuts that acidity. So it doesn't even alter the colour. I'm going to bring the dish across now to just see how the sauce is developing. Quite pleased with it, really. Right, can you see that there? Can you see it? Oh, yeah. So, good. That's really lovely and thick. What I'm going to do now is, you could do one of 2 things. You could pop this in the oven on a low light, on a low heat, to just keep simmering away. I'm going to move it on to a slower gas because that's the fast one. I'm just going to let it simmer while we move on to the meatballs.
Just while you're doing that, Sandy, for anybody who's not keeping up with the chat box, there's been a little bit of discussion about where to buy Meru herbs, and they are available from Tradecraft, from JTS, I think either directly or through your local Fairtrade shop. And Trish says that Ukuvu lemon pepper is fabulous.
That is fabulous. I must, yes, I do. Let me just think.
Particularly on top of salmon, she says.
Yes, I've got some of the lemon pepper here.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I did with this as well. I mix it in, quite a lot of it, in with some flour. And I coated like chicken goujons.
Very nice.
Them and fried them. So you kind of, because I know a certain shop, beginning with Mark's, does a lemon pepper chicken, and I thought, oh, I'm sure, and it really helped. I maybe put in a little bit more extra lemon zest, but it was really good. But yeah, that sounds great on the fish. Right, so we've got the sauce simmering away nicely now, just under a very low light. you've got that sauce to use for so many things. You could add mince to it. You could add minced chicken. You could add just lots and lots of different beans. The kidney beans, black beans, nice tins of chickpeas, make a lovely dish there. But let's go on to the meatballs. Now, these meatballs couldn't be easier. I mean, when Joanna said we've got an hour and a half to do this recipe, I was thinking, crikey, that's a long time, because it doesn't take that long. Which is no bad thing, really, because it's nice making fresh food, but people don't always have the time. But it's always just worth finding a bit of time. Now, here I've got a pound of minced beef, and when I was making some that I've made earlier, I grew up watching Blue Peter and Valerie Singleton, and she always had one. Here's one I've made earlier. So I thought I'd do the same. So I've made some meatballs already. And I was thinking about it, and I thought you could use a minced lamb and put in something like cumin or mint. But what I've done, and the idea is, or minced chicken. What I've got here is also from a local butcher's. I bought some sausages. Now these ones, a pound of each, a pound of sausage and a pound of minced beef. Yesterday, the meatballs I made were sage and red onion. And these ones are a spicy one. Because we're having this spicy sauce, I thought I would use a spicier sausage. It says chorizo style sausage. So not far from me, there is a little farm shop, and you can go see the animals and feed the animals, but also they have a gorgeous butchery department. I know. So Ingo, what you need to do.
Sandy,
Yeah?
can I just interrupt? Amelia, I think she's making the veggie version of this, and she wants to know when should she put vegetables into the oven.
Right, I'll break off from this and come across to the veg. Right, if she turns her oven up quite high, not to the highest one, I would say maybe 180, 190, and she chops her veg, whatever she's got. As you can see here, I have a mixture of, I've got some carrot and I've got some parsnip, but I've also used an aubergine, a courgette, I think what else I used in there, and a pepper. So I combined the winter root vegetables and your summer vegetables. Your winter root vegetables will take a little bit longer. Now, cut them into bite-sized pieces, something that you can get your teeth into, not too small that they disappear, but something a little bit chunky, because they are going to replace your meatball. Put them in a bowl, sprinkle on some olive oil and some of your seasoning of your choice. Spread them into one layer on a roasting tin. Try and keep, because then they roast rather than steam. If food is stacked too deeply, it steams. We need it to roast. Bob it in your oven, and by the time your sauce is simmered, they will take about a good half hour, depending on if you've got root vegetables or you've got your courgette and pepper. So that's what I did. Yeah. Okay, does that make sense? Everything all right there?
I think so. Yes. Yep. And can you, just while you're on, how much milk was added to your tomato?
It was a couple of tablespoons just to rinse out the jar. When I tipped my jar of sauce in, it was just a couple of tablespoons to rinse it out.
Yeah. And Amelia's happy with the vegetables now. She knows what she's doing.
Good. So I've split the sausage, split the skin. I'm taking the sausage out of the skin, And I'm putting it into a bowl with the mince. If anybody's going to do mushrooms at this point as well, I would do the same with those. I would put them into a roasting tin, mixed with a little bit of, just toss them in some oil and some seasoning, lots of black pepper, and spread them into a roasting tin and just bob them in your oven now as well. Whole. If you've got sort of like a button mushroom, once again, everything the similar size to a kind of meatball. Are these chorizos? Yes, they are.
Are they the type you have to cook or just eat out of the package, says Marco Antonio?
These are chorizo style sausages. They're not chorizo itself. That would be a bit too tough.
Yeah.
These are a chorizo style sausage, but as I say, yesterday I used a sage and red onion sausage. Now I'm just getting my hand in and squeezing the meat and the sausage together. Now, as you can see, there is nothing else. The simplicity of this meatball is that there is nothing else needed. If you've bought a quality sausage, the seasoning that you need is all in there. It's all just there for you. So it doesn't need egg to bind. It doesn't need breadcrumbs. Your sausage is going to do that for you. I would wherever possible. I know finances are difficult and money's tight and things, but if I could just urge everybody to buy the best quality mince and sausage that you can, you know, a good quality sausage, you can't beat it, isn't it? It's as good as a joint. A beef is a good sausage. Right, so I've squeezed that together till it combines your sausage and your mince. And then, simplest thing to do is take about a golf ball size of meat and sausage and roll it. Now, a little tip here, I'm going to give you a good little tip. When you're rolling your meatball, try not to squeeze it. I'll demonstrate how I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to squeeze your meatball till it's tight and tough. Too small, they become little hard bullets. Too big, they won't cook. And too tight, they become tough. I want you to just bring the meat and sausage together. It doesn't have to be perfect round. It can be a bit gnarly, but what you get then in that meatball is you get a light meatball. When you eat it, it's not packed tight, like sometimes you get beef burgers where they're packed very tight. You've got a lovely aerated meatball, and it has a crumblier texture, which is perfect in your sauce, because the sauce then gets in and around all parts of your meatball. So just keep going. I'll just keep going here like this. Once again, what I would say is, how many does a pound of each make? That will depend on how big you make them. We'll see how much we get from what we've got here. And you could, what is nice as well, like I was saying about the minced lamb, you use minced lamb and put some cumin in. And the sausage, you could just use a regular pork sausage, because the bit of fat would help. And then make them a bit smaller. You could then use them on a buffet with a tzatziki dip, a Greek yogurt, mint and cucumber dip to have with your lamb meatballs. So that's a nice idea. As I say, I know chicken sausage is becoming a little bit more popular. I can't honestly say I've had too much, so I don't really know. I can't find a reasonable sauce for a chicken sausage just yet. But you could use a minced chicken or a minced turkey with a very light style sausage. So, bring these together, nearly there. Steady away. Now, what I have done in the past, and I have to say it's not been my biggest success, is I've used the meatball and I've flattened it and put in a ball of mozzarella. And it's never stayed in. And I've yet to come up with a reason why. I think sometimes that's a very packed meatball in order to hold it right round the mozzarella. What is nice is to put some little bits of mozzarella and some parmesan in little cubes in your sauce, and it just flavours the sauce a little bit. Right, let me just move this dish, wipe my hands. So,
Karen, Sandy, with another question here. I've lost it now. Karen is obviously enjoying watching you cook, and she wonders, do you have a cookbook? Do you have a cookbook?
I have yes, I do. I have a small, very easy cookbook, which if you email me your address, I shall give you my email. That's just available through me. It's £5, and it's just a lot of very easy to follow baking recipes. And then hopefully very soon, we're just waiting for things to lift. I'm bringing out another book that's it's about the north, and it's about recipes that I've developed, but given them names to people, places, things, and organisation within the north of England. And the links, it sounds very weird, isn't it? But the links at the front, the little story attached, are very tenuously linked to the recipe itself. It's quite bizarre, really. But it's just a bit of fun. So hopefully that will be coming out in the spring. But if you email me at Sandy Driver at, that's all one word, SANDY DRIVER at hotmail.co.uk and send me your address, I'll send you one of my little books, and then I'll send you my bank details, and you can just transfer the £5 into there.
Thank you.
That's it. Now, I've just, going back to this, I've just lined just a spoonful of oil, because sometimes if you've bought a really good sausage and really good mince, there's not a lot of fat in there. So just to line the bottom of my little roasting tray here. Hey, I'll have to tell you, I got this when I was doing Ludlow Food Festival, and it's made by Netherton Foundry. It's fabulous. As long as you keep it seasoned, it's fabulous. It's the best thing I've ever done. What am I doing on Thursday night but watching Nigella Lawson? And she had one. Oh. So there you go. But best thing I've ever bought. Now, I'm just, as you can see, I'm not going to fill it out. I'm going to get another tray, because I come back to that same reason of the vegetables. When you're doing things, when you're doing oven frying, so to speak, or hot roasting, keep your layer as minimum as you can. You could do these on top of the stove, by all means, if that's how you want to do it. But I like to just bob it on a hot tray and put them in the oven. But if you pile them up too high, things steam rather than roast. So let's bob that in there. And I'll put the rest on here. just in a loose layer. They don't take very long in the oven at all. So that's going in there. Just give me a top of wipe. Any more questions or anything at the moment?
I've got one. When I'm cooking mince on the top, and I never know how hot to have the oil, and I always seem to overcook it.
When you're doing it on the stove top?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay, well, you're as well. Just have the pan. Just put it on the pan, and just put the oil in, and just leave it for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Just takes the edge off the oil.
Yeah.
You don't need anything smoking hot or anything. I think when you're frying or when you're doing things on top like that, you have to remember that you're in charge. You're in charge of that flame. You know, your stove top's not in charge of you. So regulate your heat. Keep on top. If it feels too hot, turn it down or lift it off.
Yeah. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. They won't take long. 200. That won't take long. So what I would say, the person that's just put them in at 200, just in about 10 minutes, give them a shake in the pan. Give them a shake so they move around a little bit so you don't get that scorching. Okay, let's have a look at this sauce. So this has been on simmering now. And it's getting deeper and richer. Right. Now, what I'm going to show you now is, as I said, this sauce is bubbling away. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to spoon some out into another dish so that I can demonstrate two things. Let me find them. Sorry, excuse me, talk amongst yourselves. So, what we've got here is I'm going to split the sauce now into two halves. You'll see that the sauce is quite a dark red colour, and that's because of the red wine. I mean, by all means, if you don't drink, don't put any wine in. You know, it is just wherever I can get a glass of wine and something. I do think it adds just a certain type of, you know, luxury. So what we're going to do, we've got these few things here. We've got here is the meatballs I made yesterday, and I put them in the fridge. Now, as you can see, they're not perfectly round, but they are. I'll just open one up, see if you can see. So you kind of, it's by no means tight and formed. Is that all right? Can you see that?
You're mute again, Sandy.
But my son's just
You're
ringing
back.
me. How many times do you have to tell your children you're doing something? It's 35. So, into this sauce, I'm going to put these meatballs. Now, it's quite a lot of sauce for me, and I would just stir them in, and then I would put that back on the stove and let them heat through, just nice and slowly, or bob them in the oven. Okay. Now, I just wonder if I could pinch some of this sauce here to demonstrate the other style. So it's this one. So if you could imagine I hadn't put the... You could double up this sauce. You could make a really good big batch and then divide it up and put nothing in and freeze it so that you have it for whatever you want when you want it. So that's the meatball one there. That's going on nicely. Oh, just a second. Just put your head around this door, Rory. You know, my son just like to look at the nation.
Hello.
Hello, this is my boy, who I said, what? Yeah. And my little grandson here, and Kirsty, he's on his first day at nursery school today. Hello. Hello.
Sorry.
See you soon. See you soon. Okay. And here, sorry about that, but hey, families, it's what it's all about. Here I've roasted some button mushrooms, you know, and I roasted them in a roasting tin with a little bit of olive oil, plenty of black pepper, and a sprinkling of mushroom ketchup. Please don't worry if you say, what on earth is she talking about mushroom ketchup? I had one once, and then I found it in a shop the other day, and I decided, because it just goes into all sorts of things. I don't know if anybody knows about mushroom ketchup, but it really is lovely. Now, what we're going to do with this is put these, so these act like the meatballs, and we can stir these into a portion of the sauce as well. So, there we've got the meatball version, sorry, the mushroom version. You'll have to excuse me because this has got all, this sauce, remember, has got the bacon in, so it's not exactly vegetarian. But that's, I'll show you that one because that looks nice. You see that one, that's the mushroom variation. And the meatball variation. And then for our roasted veg girl, here's my roasted veg into the other sauce. Okay, and we'll just stir this in. Once again.
Sandy, while you're doing that, Karen knows you came to fame with your baking, but do you prefer to bake or to cook?
I think if I'm feeling quite full, I love to bake. I do love to bake, but because I tend to go off on a tangent, I tend to experiment a bit more. And as you know, with baking, once you start to experiment, it can go seriously wrong. But of course, as I say, being in this Yorkshire, nothing goes to waste. So you tend to have a lot of trifle, because that's what you do with broken baking, you know, you make trifle. So as I say, I love to baking, and I went on Bake Off. If I'm being honest, and nobody must ever tell her, my sister is probably the better baker, because if the recipe says do something, she does it. Well, I will question that and say, well, I can't do that, but I'll do this. And I remember going on Bake Off and introducing myself, saying, I can be quite random. I can go in the kitchen to make a cake and I can come out with a meat pie. Because it's that thing of, you go to bake, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have the other. So what have you got? Oh, I've got this, so I'll make some pastry and make a pie. But going back to the question, I love it all. I love it all. As long as I can share what I've made, as long as my food is liked, whether it be baking or cooking, that suits me. I mean, baking has a universal language. Cooking and baking says all sorts. We've just been here now. We have just shared the world of food produce with this nation. We're talking food just crosses divides. It talks to everybody because everybody likes to talk about what you eat and drink in your country, region, area. So to be part of that on any event, be it cooking or baking, makes me happy.
And to you enjoy inspiring people to cook as well, don't you? To
Oh.
share that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think working as a safeguarding officer in a secondary school and working with some very hard to reach young people sometimes, if you can entice them into making a loaf of bread or making a pie, and they're suddenly pleased and they'll say, really, you know, did you like it, miss? Did you like it? I loved it. And I think one of the best things I've ever done since the bake-off days is where we took some of our hard-to-reach young people and we worked with the Help for Heroes at Catterick. So you've got post-traumatic stress soldiers with limbs lost and things, working with hard-to-reach kids in Bradford, making cake. And these two worlds would never have crossed had it not been for cake. You know, so
yeah,
I am passionate about food on any level, and if it's about budgeting, then it's about budgeting, and hence this. Here's 3 things with one sauce, and umpteen variations, or you know, what about just the sauce with some capers and anchovies in it, and you know, you got your basic puttanesca. It's a pizza sauce. If you wanted to make pizza, use this sauce, let it simmer for a bit longer, it becomes a bit thicker, and you've got a pizza sauce. So now, actually, I was just going to say, can you tell me, or maybe Joanna, about the Fairtrade pasta? What is it about Fairtrade spaghetti that we like?
Yeah, it's made from quinoa, so that's the sort of fair trade element, because most pasta is made from wheat, durum wheat normally, which isn't necessarily something that you can grow in a fair trade way. Because one of the things that people will ask is sort of, can you get everything fair trade? And one of the reasons you can't get everything fair trade is because it has to be something that it's sort of economical to grow in low income countries.
Yes.
Import to the UK, whereas something like wheat, we grow a lot of that in the UK and certainly in Europe, so a lot of pasta will be made from European ingredients. But the Fairtrade pasta that's available, there's all sorts of links on the Fairtrade Yorkshire website, the section to do this recipe, and it's made out of quinoa, so it comes from Peru, because it's a traditional. The first time I ever had quinoa was years ago when I went to Peru, and then suddenly 5 years later it's everywhere and the sort of the hot ingredient. But it's naturally gluten free. That's the important thing. So quinoa is one of those grains that's gluten free. So if you have a problem with, then Fairtrade pasta is something that you will want to be having with these meatballs. Obviously because it's Fairtrade, but also because it's gluten free as well. And it's really nice. I mean, I don't need to have gluten free, but I use Fairtrade pasta all the time, and it's a nice pasta. So that's available. You can get it from places like Ethical Superstore. Your local fair trade shop will probably have it. Tradecraft sell it. So it is available. It's a little bit more expensive, but a lot of gluten-free stuff is. And a lot of the more sort of non-standard fair trade things tend to be a little bit more expensive. But you know how much good it's doing, so it's definitely worth the investment.
Right. Here, I've done these are done. Those meatballs are bobbed in a hot oven. We've got them done. Let me just see if I can put that on my spoon. So you see, hot from the oven. There's that hot meatball with the chorizo style sausage. So put some of them in there. Then, if you wanted, what's rather nice is to put some meatball, some mozzarella in and around your sauce. This isn't actually on the recipe, but this is not a given. And as it's warming, that mozzarella just slightly melts a little bit and just becomes, once again, another layer. And then to serve, I would just pull some parmesan with and maybe some chopped parsley or some fresh basil. I'd be tempted as well to put some of the parmesan just over the mushrooms and the roasted veg, because I think, once again, that's just another dimension. And if you're vegan, then you can get vegan cheese, which is quite nice, really. And I think you can get vegan. I think you can get like a vegan style parmesan. Okay. Get that over there. Sprinkle that over there. This is nice. The vegetarian version, either the mushrooms or the vegetable one, is nice with maybe like a couscous, or even a tabbouleh, you know, the couscous with the lots of chopped herbs in it. That's really nice. And what you could do with the mushroom ones is, instead of the chili, you could add paprika, and maybe either, if you're vegan again, some cream alternative or some double cream, and that would make like a mushroom stroganoff. So from that same tomato sauce recipe, you've got a mushroom stroganoff, which takes it to another country actually. But that would be really nice with the mushrooms. So that's paprika, smoked paprika, and some cream there over rice would be really lovely. And the meatballs here, and I think, and then the meatballs there. And so we've made all this from those couple of tins of tomatoes. So there's 2 pounds of mince and 2 pounds of sausage, and it will feed an army, which is really good, or very hungry people. So please, 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 please don't think that you can't cook or you don't like to cook. Just have a go. Get your kids involved. Get your families involved. Bake it in single pot. If you're just on your own, make it in portions and freeze it. But it's so much nicer than buying a tomato sauce. It really is. Like I say, I'm back to my old mum as I came in. Just don't put it in your rice pudding, because a tin of tomatoes in your rice pudding will not give you any help whatsoever. Have we any more questions there, Bernard?
Yes, we have. Quite a lot of discussion going on, particularly where people live and their heritage. And there's an awful lot of Irish around, including myself, people with Irish backgrounds.
Including myself in there.
Oh, very good. And very pleased to have someone from Canada who's enjoying the show.
Hello, Canada. Hello. I've got an auntie in Nova Scotia. You know her.
But Amelia does have a question about the cooking. When my veg is done, do I pour it over the sauce?
When the veg, pour it over the sauce and stir it through so that your veg it acts like your meatballs. So combine the two together. That's your best bet.
Thank you.
Can I just give you another idea for the veggie one? They're coming to me thick and fast. Make it like this, serve it in a dish, and then a really lovely savoury crumble sprinkled on top, made with flour, oats, butter rubbed in, some cheese, maybe lots of pepper, some of the nice mixed herbs and the lemon pepper we've had. Sprinkle a layer on top, bake it in the oven, and you've got a wonderful savoury crumble to serve. There you go. That's just come to me now.
Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. By the way, Donna from Canada says she's very sorry. Nova Scotia's on the other side of the country, so she doesn't know your auntie.
Oh, no. All right. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know, Donna. Thank you very much. That's lovely to think we're reaching the world.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much. What a lovely session.
Yeah, please, anybody missed out on anything, email me. I'm quite happy and I'll answer every email, you know, as long as it's clean. I'll answer most things, you know, and please do get in contact, because I am passionate about sharing my thoughts and ideas, and I waffle terribly and I go off on tangents and ideas come to me on the hoof. Some of them work, some of them don't work. But please tell me how you go on and tell me your variation. I want people to just make all recipes their own and sort of, you know, make them as they can.
I think your passion and your enthusiasm has come through so strongly during the past hour. I've really enjoyed the session, and from the comments, there are lots of people who've enjoyed it just as much. So, quite inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's joined in. And what a great hour. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Congratulations, Fairtrade Fortnight, and long may it continue.
Absolutely.
And long may, you know, we get more shops around. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm seeing the messages now. They're coming up, so thank you. I'm really, I'm moved. Really moved. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Jana. Are we finishing now?
Yes, thanks everybody for coming along. We're finishing a little bit early, so I'm going to just play another video to remind you why we're all here. So thanks everybody. This is going to be available on the Fairtrade Yorkshire YouTube channel. I was a little bit late in starting recording, so the first bit where she's chopping the onion, that's missing. But from then on, you've got the whole session on the Fairtrade Yorkshire YouTube channel from tomorrow. So yes, oh, and yes. Happy St David's Day to anybody who's calling in from Wales.
Oh yeah.
Did you like the fact that I knew that's what that was? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know that.
And for the Irish, can I just say, for the Irish among us, for St Patrick's Day on the 17th, I'll say this in the best Irish I can. Go merry mich bio anam shirish, which translates as God willing, we'll all see this time next year.
Marvellous.
Okay.
So that's great. Right, so I think that's a perfect way to end. Maybe we need to do another cook along on St Patrick's Day.
Anytime. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. And as I say, I'm going to play us out with another video to remind us why we're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's fair for people and planet. It means a fairer deal for farmers and workers on the front line of the climate crisis, to help them deal with the huge challenges climate change is already causing them. Challenges like less fertile land, failing harvests, and more extreme weather. It means our eco-friendly fair trade standards. And it means expert advice on sustainable farming techniques from our fair trade producer networks, who offer support all around the world. But why does Fairtrade care about the climate crisis? Because the climate crisis isn't fair. Farmers like Siddy and his family contribute least to this crisis. Carbon emissions per person in the UK are 28 times bigger than those of someone in Sierra Leone, but they are the ones getting hit the hardest. And unless we take urgent action, things will get worse for hard-pressed communities around the world and for the future of our favourite products. Up to 50% of land used for coffee could be unusable by 2050. Plant diseases are becoming more common. Cocoa trees will be harder to grow in West Africa. Wine production could reduce by 40 to 50% in South Africa and Chile. But we can choose a better future with Fairtrade. Fairtrade exists precisely to help those in need get through a crisis and win justice in the longer term. Whether that's a trade crisis of unsustainable prices, the COVID-19 crisis, or the huge challenge of the climate crisis. So how is Fairtrade helping tackle the climate crisis? When you buy Fairtrade, it means farmers and workers getting at least a guaranteed Fairtrade minimum price and an extra payment known as the Fairtrade Premium, which they choose how to invest in their communities and farms. That means more resources to deal with the escalating challenges climate change brings. This could mean planting new trees, new climate-smart farming techniques, or coping with more extreme weather patterns. Sadly, too many farmers and workers simply don't earn enough to do any of this, which is why our global fair trade movement is campaigning for all farmers and workers to earn a living income, so communities, businesses and families in the global south can survive this crisis. But with our Fairtrade producer networks, Fairtrade is there on the ground too, giving expert practical advice. Fairtrade farmers are on the front line of the climate crisis, but are working to win a better future for our planet. They work in line with our eco-friendly Fairtrade standards, bans on deforestation, commitments to reduce carbon footprints, protections for biodiversity. So every time you choose Fairtrade, you're choosing a better future for all of us and the whole planet. Action on climate change is in our hands. Share to help us win a fairer future.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bernard.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.